Before we start, I want to name something with care. Today we're talking about what happens in the first 72 hours after someone dies. If you've lost someone recently, or if this topic hits close to a date you carry in your body and your memory, I want you to give yourself permission to pause. You can come back when you're ready. This episode isn't going anywhere. Take care of yourself first. There's a phone call coming. None of us know the day or the hour. But we do know this: eventually, someone we love will be gone, or we will be. And when that call comes, the world doesn't just feel different. It reorganizes. Your life redraws itself around one sentence you never wanted to hear. What most people don't realize is that the next 3 days, the first 72 hours, can be some of the most financially intense, legally confusing, and emotionally destabilizing hours a family ever lives through. Not because families are weak. Not because they don't love each other. But because the system doesn't pause for grief. Today, I'm going to walk with you through what those first 3 days can look like. Not to scare you. Not to be dramatic. But to protect the people you love. Because there's one document, one, that can change whether those 72 hours feel like a disaster you never recover from, or a hard passage you can actually survive with dignity. I'm Nakel Nakima, and this is the Wise Side Life and Legacy podcast. This episode is heavy. But it might be the most important conversation I can offer you. Let's begin where everything begins, the moment of death. Hour zero. And I want you to picture this not as an abstract idea, but as a real day. A real home. A real body. A real family standing in a room where time suddenly moves differently. If someone dies at home unexpectedly, the very first decision is simple on paper and brutal in real life. Who do you call? Most people call 911. Paramedics arrive. If death is confirmed, police often come too. And in many places, an unexpected death at home automatically triggers a medical examiner or coroner process. That means the body can't just be moved right away. Not by you. Not by a funeral home. Not until certain steps happen. Now compare that with a different home death, hospice. If a person is enrolled in hospice and dies at home, the process is often calmer and far less complicated. A hospice nurse can pronounce the death. There's usually number 911 call. No police. And the plan for who comes next is typically already in place. And here's the part people don't like hearing, but it matters: the difference between those two scenes isn't love. It isn't grief. It isn't even the severity of loss. A lot of the difference is paperwork that was handled before the crisis. A decision made on a normal day that changes what happens on the worst day. Then there's the body, the physical reality that families are not prepared for. In the US, remains generally can't be released to a funeral home until there's a death certificate process underway, and a doctor or medical authority signs off. In some states and situations, that can take a day. Sometimes longer. And while you're processing the shock, you may also be waiting for signatures, waiting for approvals, waiting for someone in an office to stamp what just happened as official. And if your family hasn't already chosen a funeral home, guess what? You're choosing one now. In the fog. Under pressure. While everyone is calling and asking questions you can't answer yet. And the truth is, funeral costs can vary wildly, even within the same neighborhood. Two places on the same street can be separated by thousands and thousands of dollars. And when you're grieving, every sales conversation feels like an ambush. You don't know what's required, what's optional, what can wait, what can't. You're just trying to do right by someone you love. And the decisions start coming fast. Burial or cremation. Service or no service. Open casket or closed casket. Embalming or refrigeration. A religious ceremony, something secular, or something private. If you never talked about this as a family, people will guess. And here's what's heartbreaking about guessing: it doesn't just cost money. It costs peace. Because later, when the shock wears off, people replay those choices and wonder if they failed the person they lost. Now let's talk about the part most people don't see coming until it hits them, the money. Not because they're focused on money, but because survival requires it. Bills keep arriving even when your heart is in pieces. One of the first financial shocks is what I call the freeze. When a bank learns that an account holder has died, accounts can be restricted or frozen, sometimes quickly. If there's a joint account with a spouse listed, access often continues. But if the account is only in the deceased person's name, that money can become untouchable until the legal process begins. Think about what that means in real life. The mortgage might be scheduled to draft tomorrow. Utilities might be on autopay. The car note might be due. Groceries, childcare, gas, life doesn't pause. But the money might. And families who were stable on Monday can feel panicked by Thursday. Meanwhile, the immediate costs show up right away. A funeral in the US commonly lands somewhere in the range of thousands to well over $10,000, and burials in many cities can climb far beyond that once you add the plot, the casket, the service, the transportation, all of it. Cremation can be less expensive, but it's often not as cheap as people assume once you add the pieces families usually want in order to grieve well. And here's another reality: many funeral homes expect payment before services happen, not after. That means your family might have to pay out of their own savings, or put expenses on credit, or wait and hope that an insurance payout is coming soon. Then come the bills nobody wants to look at in the middle of a loss. Final medical bills that can be enormous, even with insurance. Credit cards. Car loans. Mortgage balances. And here's a sentence you need to understand clearly: in many states, debt doesn't simply evaporate when someone dies. It becomes a claim against the estate. And depending on the type of debt and the laws where you live, a surviving spouse can still be pulled into that financial gravity, especially when accounts were shared. Now imagine this: you're in mourning, and the phone rings. It's not a friend checking on you. It's collections. That's not a rare horror story. That's a normal week for many families. And at the same time, income can stop. A paycheck can end immediately or at the end of a pay period. Benefits can change. Social Security payments stop for the person who died, and survivors have to navigate what they qualify for next. Pensions may reduce or disappear depending on what was elected years ago. So while expenses spike, the income stream can shrink. That's the squeeze. Now let's step into the legal maze, because this is where people feel like they're drowning in paperwork while also trying to be a human being. Probate is the court-supervised process of identifying what the person owned, settling debts, and distributing whatever is left. And probate isn't fast. Depending on where you live and what the estate looks like, it can stretch from months into years. During that time, assets can be effectively locked up. A house might not be sellable yet. Investment accounts might be inaccessible. Even transferring a car title can turn into a headache. And people are often stunned to learn that probate is public. That means, in many places, details about the estate can be read by anyone who wants to look. For families with significant assets, that's a privacy problem. For all families, it's usually a cost problem: court fees, attorney fees, executor fees. It's common for a noticeable percentage of an estate to get consumed in the process. And then there's the scenario that breaks hearts: dying without a will. If there's no will, the state uses its own formula to decide who gets what. Not what you would have wanted. Not what makes emotional sense. Not what honors the relationships that actually mattered. And those laws can produce outcomes that feel cruel. In some cases, a long-term partner who was never legally married can be left with nothing. Meanwhile, an estranged relative, someone the person hadn't spoken to in years, can become the legal heir. That can happen. It does happen. Because the law isn't making moral decisions. It's applying rules. And while we're here, I need to say something that almost nobody understands until it's too late: beneficiary designations can outrank your will. Life insurance beneficiaries, retirement accounts like 401(k), S and IRAs, and certain payable on-death accounts generally go directly to whoever is listed, even if your will says otherwise. So if someone got divorced 20 years ago and never updated the beneficiary form, that old name might still be the name that gets the money. A will doesn't automatically fix that. Courts have walked this road again and again. That's why reviewing beneficiaries regularly is not a nice to do. It's a protection plan. And then there's a newer layer of grief and confusion that our parents often didn't face at the same scale: digital life. Email accounts. Photo libraries. Social media. Subscription services. Crypto wallets. Password managers. Cloud storage. If your loved one dies and nobody can access their accounts, you can lose photos, documents, even money. And trying to get access while grieving can feel like being trapped outside your own home, knocking on doors that never open. Now, after the money and the law, we have to talk about the part that can quietly destroy families: the emotional collapse. Not because people don't love each other, but because grief puts everyone's nervous system on high alert while the world keeps demanding decisions. Grief doesn't function on a schedule. But funeral homes do. Insurance companies do. Courts do. In the first 72 hours, families often have to make irreversible choices while they're still in shock. And shock changes the brain. It affects memory. It affects judgment. It affects impulse control. People sign contracts and agree to plans they barely remember later. They say yes just to end the conversation. They feel pressured and don't know how to push back. And this is where family dynamics show up like a storm. Old sibling conflicts. Unspoken resentments. Long-standing jealousy. Blended family tensions. The question of who gets to decide. Who speaks at the service? What kind of service it should be? Where the person should be laid to rest. When there are no clear instructions, grief becomes a battleground for unresolved history. I've seen families fracture over choices that could have been simple if the person who died had written it down plainly while they were alive. Not in legal language. In human language. Just honestly. And if there are young children involved, it gets even heavier. If both parents were to die and no guardian is clearly named, the decision can end up in court. A judge who doesn't know your family, who doesn't know your child, could be the one deciding where that child goes. One document, one clear guardian designation, can prevent that kind of chaos during the ugliest moment imaginable. So after walking through this reality, we arrive at the question: what actually helps? What changes the experience of those first 72 hours in a practical way? Here's the answer I want to give you, as plainly as I can. A will matters. Power of attorney matters, while you're alive. But the single thing that can change the immediate math of the first 72 hours is liquid money that bypasses probate, paired with clear instructions your family can follow. That's why I say the document that changes everything is a life insurance policy with the right beneficiaries, plus a simple beneficiary letter, sometimes called a letter of instruction, that tells your family exactly what to do. Let's talk about why life insurance matters here. Life insurance proceeds typically go directly to the named beneficiary and usually do not get trapped in probate the way many other assets can. That means it can create fast cash flow when families need it most. Not because money replaces a person. It doesn't. But because money buys time and prevents desperation. It gives your spouse breathing room to pay for a funeral without emptying savings. It gives your family a way to keep the mortgage current while legal processes unfold. It keeps the lights on. It keeps the car insured. It reduces the chance that grief will be layered with financial panic. In the first week after death, that is not a small gift. That is protection. But the policy alone isn't enough if nobody knows it exists or nobody knows how to access it. That's where the beneficiary letter comes in. A beneficiary letter is not complicated. It's not about fancy formatting. It's a plain language map for the worst week of your family's life. It answers questions before people are forced to guess. It can include what policies you have and which companies they're through. Who your beneficiaries are. Where your will is located. Which funeral home you want. Whether you want burial or cremation. Names and numbers for your attorney, your accountant, your insurance professional. A list of key bank accounts and retirement accounts. Debts people should know about. And yes, your digital life, how to access the accounts that hold your photos, your documents, your subscriptions, your passwords. This letter turns the first 72 hours from frantic searching into steady actions. It takes a period that often feels like free fall and gives it rails. So what do I want you to do with this episode? Not just feel it. Do something with it. This week, not someday. First, if you already have life insurance, find it. Verify the coverage amount. Verify that the policy is active. And verify the beneficiary is correct. People are shocked at how often a policy quietly lapsed, or how often a beneficiary is outdated. Second, if you don't have coverage, get a quote. For many healthy people, term insurance can be far more affordable than they assume. The worst time to look into it is after a serious diagnosis. The best time is when you still have options. Third, write the letter. This weekend, sit down and make a simple, honest document. It does not need perfect grammar. It needs clarity. A handwritten page with the essentials is more valuable than a flawless document that never gets created. Fourth, have the conversation. Tell the people who need to know where the letter is kept. Tell them where the will is. Tell them who to contact. Because even the best plan fails if no one can find it when it matters. The day you die is coming. That's a hard sentence, and I don't say it to be cold. I say it because it's true, and truth is what wakes us up. You don't get to choose the timing. You don't get to choose the circumstances. But you do get to choose what the first 72 hours will feel like for the people you love. You can choose whether they are guided or left to guess. Whether they have time or they're forced into desperation. Whether they grieve with support or grieve while trying to solve 1,000 problems with shaking hands. If this episode stirred something in you, don't let that feeling just pass through. Take one action this week. Just one. That is how legacies become real, not through intention, but through preparation. I'm Nakul Nikima, and this has been the Wise Side Life and Legacy Podcast. Until next time, live wisely, love deeply, and leave a legacy worthy of the life you're living. To schedule a free legacy consultation and to receive a beneficiary letter template, check the link in the show notes or text the word legacy to the number listed there. Subscribe wherever you listen, and if you feel this episode could protect someone you care about, share it with them.